So after we arrived at St. Jude's, where we were received, we spent there about a week. And during that time, it was more of an introduction, it was more of an orientation. We were being oriented to the community of the Sisters of Mary. I think at that time, the counselors, the leadership of the congregation was in Shimalavandu in Kakamega Pastoral Center, where they were to elect new leaders. So we had to spend the entire time in Mumias. So after a week in Mumias, we were brought to Mukumu. Mukumu is where we have the Mother House of the Sisters of Mary. It is where we have the postulate of the Sisters of Mary. The postulate is where the aspirants and postulants are trained. So we were taken to Mukumu, and there we joined those who were postulants by then. There were about 9 postulants. There were about 9 postulants. So we joined the team of 9 postulants, and the 11 of us plus the 9 who were there as postulants, and we began our life in formation. So as aspirants, of course, there is a program. You wake up in the morning, you go for your morning prayers. After morning prayers, you come back, you do breakfast. After breakfast, you wash up. And then after washing up, at around 9 o'clock, you go to class. So the class runs for about an hour or so. You go for visitation to the Blessed Sacrament. So you have to go for the visitation of the Blessed Sacrament in the chapel, and that is very important. After the visitation to the Blessed Sacrament, you can go back for a second lesson if there is a second teacher to teach you. And there are different topics that you are taught. I remember when we were in the postulate, they will teach us, of course, we had liturgy. Liturgy was a key topic that we would be taught. And then we would be taught moral theology. We had other lessons like sacramentology. We had lessons like human development, the growth of a human being. We used to be taught by Sister Baptista, and she was an excellent teacher. It is one topic which I really enjoyed because we got to learn, the different stages of development. So after class, then it would be time for midday prayers. At noon, we would go for our midday prayers, especially at around 12:30. So if we happened to finish class by 11, you would do other things like maybe self-cleaning. If you have a department, usually we have departments there, so you have to do your cleaning. If you don't manage to clean before 9, then you can do it maybe during that time from 11. After midday prayers, you will of course go for lunch because it will be 1 o'clock by then. Then after 1 o'clock, we would be doing our personal activities. If you are a cook, of course, you will be in the kitchen. If you are a supper cook, that is, you will be in the kitchen preparing for dinner. We start preparing for our dinner very early. And even those who do breakfast, by 9 o'clock, our ugali is usually cooked. And so you put it to bake. And by the time you are coming to eat lunch, it is the best ugali that you can ever have. I learned to eat baked ugali in the congregation of the Sisters of Mary, and I can tell you that they have the best ugali ever. If you've never tasted ugali and you would like to taste for the first time, make it a point to visit the Sisters of Mary of Kakamega. You will eat the baked ugali, and it is the best. So after lunch, of course, at 3 o'clock, we have the Divine Mercy. So if you don't have much to do, maybe you can take some time to rest. You can take a nap from 2 o'clock to around 3. You can take a nap. And then after that, you wake up and now start preparing for evening prayers. We used to begin our prayers at 5:30 in the evening. We would begin with the rosary, of course. Then we had the vocal prayers, and we had the breviary, that is the liturgy of hours. And then after prayers, we would have a few minutes of reflection before we come in for supper at 7 p.m. And then after supper, of course, we do the worship. And then if there is television, we can watch a program on television. If it is not television, maybe if it's a Sunday, we used to have a social evening whereby maybe we would dance to music, or we will dance to the music from our different communities. Like, we would present to each other. If you are from the Ateso community, you would come together and dance for the team. Like, you demonstrate what you do in your community. If you are from the Luya community or the Luo community or the Kisi community, you would come also and dance with your fellow sisters. And it was a nice experience, actually, sharing those cultural practices from our different communities. And then after that, by around 9:30, unless the formator had some songs to teach us, by 9:30, it was time for us to do our night prayer. And then after the night prayer, everyone will depart in silence to their room until the next morning, where you wake up, and at least by 5 o'clock. Or you can wake up earlier if you are going to prepare breakfast for the team. If it is your day to prepare breakfast for the team, you wake up earlier so that by 5:45, you are in the chapel to join the rest for the morning prayer. And the days would continue like that. After the morning prayer, of course, you go for Mass. And after Mass, again, you come back for breakfast, you wash up, you go to class, and the program continues like that. So we stayed in Mukumu for about 7 months. And around July, we were called upon with the aspirants to go and join the aspirants in Uganda. Why? Because they wanted the aspirants to stay together. They wanted the postulants together and the novices together. So in Uganda, there were 4 aspirants. So the 11 of us plus the 4, there were actually 5. The 5 aspirants were in Uganda, and then the 11 of us had to go and join them. This also came as a shock. We were not expecting that we would leave our country and go to join the aspirants in Uganda, but it happened. And when you are on a mission, when you are called, you respond. That is what obedience means. You are sent without expecting it, and you say, "Yes, Lord, your will be done," and so you go. So we didn't have a choice. We went to Uganda and joined the team of 5 aspirants. And then the postulants who were in Uganda at that time, they boarded the matatu that dropped us. They boarded the bus that dropped us, and it brought them back to Mukumu, where they joined the team of postulants that was there. So we had to begin a new life as aspirants. We were 16 of us now, a huge team. And I think we had 2 or 3 formators by then. So this was a new country, new experiences. At some point, I will share some of the experiences that we had as aspirants. Some that I found totally new to me, and some that maybe were the same as the experiences I had had in the past. So that is how our journey began as aspirants. And the routine would continue as normal, but there's something that I found a little bit different from what we were used to. In Kenya, we were used to cook using firewood. But when we went to Uganda, we were introduced to cooking using shavings. They don't have the 3 cooking stones as we do here in Kenya, but they have what we call shavings. Shavings are these remains of, when you are doing wood, when you are shaving the wood, you see those pieces that remain. There are the big ones, and then there are those very small ones the ones that come out of the power saw. When the power saw cuts a tree, there are those very tiny pieces that remain. I didn't know that they would be used as firewood, but I discovered that when we went to Uganda, when we went to Nyondo. So we had to learn how to light fire using these shavings, and they can actually sustain that fire for a long time. It is a very powerful fire. So that was something new that I got to learn there. So the routine would continue as usual. And one thing I loved in Uganda was the library that was there. It had some very nice books of saints. And this was an opportunity, for me to read books about saints. And we also had time for movies. We would come together and we would watch those Nigerian films. And this was so exciting for me as an aspirant. And then, of course, we had time to visit some places in Uganda, and this was a way for us also to explore. It was a very new country to us, and we didn't know much, but just maybe taking a walk every Sunday evening, or maybe going for celebrations here and there, going shopping to the markets there. We were getting to learn, the culture of those people and just have a new experience in a new country. Of course, the routine of the formation continued as usual, but there we would have more of porridge. We used to have yellow porridge and it was fermented. It used to taste very sweet, especially after gardening and you felt hungry. That porridge used to be so, so, so nice. But we continued with our formation in Uganda for about, I think it lasted 5 months or so. That's July, August, September, October, November, December. Yeah, it lasted 6 months because we left Uganda on 31st of December. Now back to Mukumu, because we had now taken a new step to become postulants. So as postulants, we would not continue to stay there. We had to move to Mukumu, where the postulants were, so that the new aspirants would now arrive in Nyondo and continue with their formation. And that is exactly what happened. They arrived from Mukumu with the bus. The same bus that brought them is the bus that took us back. So we never got an opportunity to spend time with our followers. We had to leave them to continue to pick up with their life where we stopped. They had to orient themselves because maybe the formaters helped them to get oriented there. So that was how I found myself now in the convent and my journey through the aspirancy. Maybe next time I'll be sharing about my journey through the postulancy stage. So stay tuned.